Hi, everyone, and welcome to this session. And thank you so much for joining us today. We know the kind of situation you're joining us today in, which is why it means a great deal for us to have to have these participants with us for this particular enablement session. So, today we've organized this session for discussing the upcoming holiday season and the challenges and opportunities that are associated with it. So honestly, all the retailers around the world can on all of them are really just thinking about Black Friday sales, Cyber Monday sales, Christmas sales, New Year sales. And if stats are to be believed, retailers all make almost more than half of their annual revenue during this holiday sales period, which is why this season not only becomes really critical for retailers, but for agencies like us also, because we are the ones who support these retailers during these peak traffic times. And we have to make sure that everything goes up and running hunky and dory with our retailer sites and all the channels that they have their shoppers shopping from. And this is exactly what we are going to be discussing today in this webinar. So for this one, we have two industry leaders with us, and they're going to share their sides of the story and just lend out their experiences and their insights around the upcoming holiday season. While most of you might already know them, but I would like to just take the opportunity of introducing them in this webinar. So first up, we have Sarvesh Kumar. He is AVP Enterprise Sales with Ranosys, and Sarvesh comes bearing 17 plus years of experience in product development, digital marketing, growth operations, and business consulting. And he's worked with a wide array of industrial verticals, retail and supply chain, oil and gas, real estate, telecom, entertainment, CPG, government sector. So with a combination of technical and commercial acumen, he has the ability to structure technology business operations for our clients. And right now at Ranosys, he is responsible for managing strong relationships with our clients and customers and our internal stakeholders, including cross-functional development and in application and hardware, marketing, and everything else that includes. His core competencies are in sales, planning, key account management, and project execution. Next up, for our somebody else who's joining us from Ranosys today is Mandar. Mandar Datar is delivery unit head at for digital commerce at Ranosys. He comes bearing 15 plus years of experience across online and omnichannel commerce, healthcare domains, and enterprise application integration. He's been a trusted business and solution advisor to some of the global system integrators and retailers in the digital commerce space and has worked with countless brands in Ranosys itself. He is known for seeing the successful delivery of mission critical projects, and his initiatives has successfully and productively enabled us to build really strong relationships with some of our clients. So welcome Sarvesh and Mandar, and thank you so much for joining us today. So how are you guys doing?
We're all good.
Yeah, doing good.
Thank you so much for lending out your time from your busy schedule for this webinar. And I hope this is going to be a very insightful one and a very learning experience for all of our participants. Without any further ado, we would just dive into our session. And for all the participants, if you have any questions, please type them in the chat section available on your screens, and we shall get to them at the end of the webinar. So Sarvesh and Mandar, over to you now.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining in today. I know there is another session going on between India and England, which is much more interesting. But yes, having said that, the session which we are conducting today, it is for the holiday season. And I think this is also pretty interesting, especially for the retailers and the brands who like to market during this holiday season. Yeah, thanks, Anushka, for setting it up. Right. Anushka, just let's move to the next slide. Anushka, we will just cover what are the topics we are going to have today.
Sure.
So some of the key topics we are going to cover today, it's going to be the key holiday period. We are considering the US market here. What are the key challenges which are being faced by the retailers, and what are the solutions they should adopt in order to overcome those solutions. Some of the mistakes what as a retailer should be avoiding it. How do they how to tackle the consumer concerns? In fact, what are the concerns that on a consumer perspective a brand should keep in a mind, the retailer should have it. And we are also going to present some of the insights which has been provided by Adobe, which has been latest conducted just last month, considering this holiday season for the year 2022. Right. So before I move ahead, Anushka, like I would like to ask you one question. This is a holiday season, and you also would like to shop a lot, especially being a woman. They tend to shop a lot. You must be having some different expectations, right, from the usual days and during the holiday season. Do you like to spare a minute to talk about it?
Sure. As you said, that women are very avid shoppers, and especially with the approaching sales season, because we know that our favorite products are going to be on heavy discounts, and this is the only time that we can have them and buy them. So this period particularly is very interesting for shoppers, because they're expecting a great deal of personalized experiences from retailers, from all the websites they're shopping. And it's very common for shoppers during the season to not just visit common sites with all the brands in one place, but they always go for individual websites as well to check out if there's a price difference or not. And of course, shipping is one thing that we want. We are very tight on deadlines, and we're very anxious to get hold of our products and to just have to touch them, to have a feel of them. So yeah, this is a very special season for even for shoppers around the world, and they expect a great deal from their favorite brands during this time.
Absolutely, Anushka. And we can move to the next slide, Anushka. We will have a look at what are the key holiday seasons, the key days for this holiday season, 2022. We all are coming out of a period of pandemic, which was very, very challenging for the mankind, not just the shopping. And all the industries were crashed, when we talk about the year 2021. Now in 2022, this is the year when people are coming out and shopping because all the restrictions are moved out, the things are getting normalized, but if you look at the some of the key statistics, like if we just to start with, if you look at the quarter from the previous quarter of the same season, there has been quite a lot of increment in the retail sales, especially as the time is passing by, and the retail sales is increasing, by more than 13% if you compare it to the same period from the previous year, right? And especially during the holiday season, we cannot manage to overlook the sales opportunities as a retailer, because this is the time of the year when they try to make the maximum sales. Not just the online retailers, even the offline retailers, they look at making a quite considerable amount of sales from this period of the year, if you compare to the overall yearly sales of any retailer. Holiday season, we are already here. I mean, generally, October, it starts from the October, November, and December. These are the 3 months when there are a lot of festivities. Even in India, when you look at, there is Dashera, there is Diwali, then there is Christmas, there is a lot of festivals during this period. And brands are always eager for this period, like how to lure the consumers, how to sell more, how to make more profitability. So it is very important, for any retailer to alter their marketing strategies, especially for this holiday season. It is very different from the other period of the year. Today, customers today are also aware that there are hundreds of brands, hundreds of marketers who would compete, among each other. They have a lot of options in front of them. So that's the reason, their expectation increases a lot. They have a lot of options available, a lot of sites are there, and especially, all these large marketplaces like Amazon are setting up the expectations here. So as a retailer, you cannot ignore the challenges, that comes here, maybe due to the increased traffic. There are a lot of extra orders that unexpected orders that you would be getting. There is a supply chain challenges. So we are going to cover up some of the challenges today, especially, the top 5 challenges we are going to cover, though there are quite a lot of challenges when you look at the complete e-commerce ecosystem. We are going to cover, some of the 5 major challenges that retailers have faced today, and how do they come out of it? What are the key solutions, that they should incorporate in order to, overcome those challenges? Anushka, can you move to the next slide? The challenges. Yeah. So the very first thing, when it comes to any of the retailer, any of the business, that is always consumer centric, right? If you have consumers, you have the buyers, you have your business up and running. So buyers at this point of time expect a lot, especially, when they have shop today, they have a lot of options, as I already said. And when we look at once, if you purchase from, marketplaces like Amazon, or maybe a Flipkart, they give you a lot of options. They give you a lot of discounts. They give you same day delivery. Certainly me as a consumer, my expectation increases, right? Also, if you look at from the marketer's point of view, they get a lot of traffic, a lot of orders primarily through the mobile devices, because everybody today is using a mobile device, and mobile technology is also, advanced, quite a lot of advanced today. Every brand uses mobile applications, so that consumers could easily connect with them through the mobile devices and quickly make an order. Roughly, if you look at the traffic, more than 50% of the traffic comes through the mobile devices. And people like to browse whenever they get a chance, or especially during the holiday season. They always try to shop in advance. So for a marketer, it is very important to have those channels in place. Along with the desktop, it is very important to have your mobile channel in place from where the users could browse it. It is much more convenient for any user. A lot of times what happens is, for smaller retailers, if they do not have a lot of budget to invest in mobile applications, there are options available like the PWAs, which is quite dynamic, and they also render a good experience. So somewhere, if the retailers who are not able to afford that much amount of money, they could come in for the PWAs. Along with that, it is very important, to have this personalized experience. What the user is going to buy, what they are browsing at, what are their past purchases. These are the kind of data points that is very, very important for a retailer to understand from the user perspective. From the moment they land onto the site, what are the kind of products they are browsing, which pages they are trying to spend a lot of time. There are quite a lot of aspects that as a retailer you need to monitor, you got to observe, and you got to act basis their behavior. So it is very important for any of the retailers to have a unified view. Today, when the omni-channel, every retailer, every brand is adopting the omni-channel approach, where the physical and the online, the virtual medium, that is all integrated. So to have a seamless, the flow of the orders, so that it could be easier for them to fulfill the demands of the customer, right? Manage the inventories. So one of the very first key things that a retailer needs to keep in mind is their buyers. Understand the buyer behavior. What are their expectations, and how could you fulfill those expectations? Right. Can you go to the next slide? So along with the buyers come the demand, right? There is a when we talk about the holiday season, everybody of us like to browse. Everybody of us like to look for new products. All of us wants to buy products because you want to gift it to the family, you want to gift it to the friends. And even though you don't usually shop, there will be something or the other we buy during the holiday season, right? So certainly the demand for the products is higher, even in the physical market or the online market. And this impacts in the traffic of the site, right? Though the traffic, certainly any retailer would be expecting a rush on the site, where the traffic would be very high compared to the other periods of the year. So holiday season, certainly they are going to expect. So and once you are during the holiday season, it is also very important to understand, which all channels the consumer are coming on, right? Where your demands are higher, so that you could easily manage the inventories accordingly. A lot of times you look at if you look at the like trend, maybe there would be a much higher demand for the electronics products. There would be a higher demand for the products which are less perishable, not non-perishable products, which would be they're offered on the site. But sometimes there are apparel segment when we look at you go to the physical store. So you need to have a very unified view of the consumer in an omni-channel model where a consumer what he's shopping and from where he's shopping, right? And how much time is he spending on the shopping. It's not just what product you buy, but also understand like what are the products you are browsing, because that shows what is the interest, right? So there are a lot of data points today in using the technology the retailers have access to, using which they could be able to predict the demand. Like if I as a user go out and check out a lot of products more number of times, certainly my intent to buy that would be higher, right? So this is very important, and this also helps in managing the inventory for the retailers. They know if there is a demand or if there is a lot of kind of eyeballs on one particular product, they expect that the inventory should be managed properly so that they don't go out of stock. You got to identify and integrate the key channels, from where the consumers are reaching out to you. It may be the mobile devices, it may be the desktop, it may be the physical store. So in that ways, you got to be managing this unpredictable demand, which is very, very critical for any of the retailers. Right? We go to the next slide. So when there is a buyer, there are products, we look at the buyers, we look at the products. Along with that comes the loyalty. Loyalty is one of the very, very critical aspects for any business. If I am a loyal customer to a business, I would be willing to pay the premium. And I become loyal not just to one interaction, but there are the experience that I have with the retailer or with the business throughout my engagement with them, right? So when you look at the loyalty, it is very important for a brand to build that from the day one the consumer is interacting with the brand, right? Until even though they are browsing, they look at the products, maybe they even buy the product. Even after the buying the product, you got to speak to your customers, you stay engaged with them, because building the customer loyalty is a very, very big challenge for any of the brand. And it depends a lot on the experience that a retailer offers to the consumer. Right? It is important for a retailer to get familiar with the customers and give them that personalized communication. So that brings the more satisfaction to the customers. See, typically, if you look at in terms of the cost, customer acquisition cost is roughly more than 5 times than the customer retention cost. So once any buyer, it becomes your customer, any of the customers, it is very important to retain them, because acquiring customers is always a very costlier affair for any of the brand, right? So what are the things a brand could do to bring this loyalty? I will give you a very good example, from around in the year 2006 or 7. I just started off working as a software engineer, and I was working with one of my colleagues. He was an IITian, and suddenly he had this thought to buy a good headphone. We had our customers outside India. We used to engage majorly virtually, and our development center here was in India. And he wanted to buy a headphone. I'm just sharing a case study with you from this loyalty thing. So we went and he bought a Bose. Bose is one of the leaders in the market in headphone and audio devices. And it's a very premium segment. He bought a headphone and it costed somewhere around 15,000 rupees at that time, 2006-7. He got it and he was very happy. He started using it. And one fine day, he did not, due to some of his mistake, the product got damaged. It was not a fault of the brand or anything. He misused it and it fell down somewhere. No, there was some disturbance in the audio quality of the product. Now, this guy was very, depressed. It was a 15,000 rupees product and he bought it, it was his first job. It was my first job. And at that point of time, 15,000 was a very huge amount for us, right? So we just thought to go back, and there was no option we had. We thought, let's go to the store and see how we could resolve it. We went to the store And you won't believe it. They did not ask a lot of questions. And they said, we are going to replace it because it is still in the warranty period. And they got the product replaced. And that was a 15,000 rupees product. And I'm talking about Bose. Now, today I'm talking about that brand after some 14, 15 years in front of everybody of us. I'm advocating that brand. That's the loyalty, that you have with the brand if they treat you properly. It's not just once you buy the product, but it is also after service, after a post-purchase service that they offer to you. Now, this is something that was unexpected. We never expected that they would replace the product because it was a very costly product. 15,000 was not a small amount. So it is very important, for a brand to keep up that kind of, relationship with the employee, with their customers, right? Now, what do brands do? Like, if you look at the various ways a brand tries to lure the customers are by offering a lot of discounts. They reward their customers, depending also on what the product demand supply is, the discounts are offered. You do a personalized marketing depending on what the customer wants. You try to reach out to them for more products, like on the products which they want to purchase. You create loyalty tiers. So the more the customer purchases, probably more the reward that you would offer to a customer. Then there are referral schemes that all the brands offer to their customer because the word of mouth makes a lot of impact in the marketing. You have to be very honest. You have to be flexible. You got to be listening to your customers. You have to understand their emotional quotient. And if you look at today's world, majorly everybody is there on the social media, and there are ways to measure the social sentiments of every user through this social media, may it be Twitter, may it be Facebook, may it be LinkedIn, from the content that they are posting, from the content they like, and how do they engage with the various content on the site, on the various media. It is very important, to pay extra attention to that, to understand where is your customers going, where they are getting more, getting lured to. So there are quite a lot of ways a brand tries to lure their customer, retain them, try to make more sales, right? And also considering the kind of competition that is there in the market, there is every day a new brand comes in, every day a new marketplace would come in, in today's scenario. So it is very important to maintain that customer loyalty, and customer loyalty comes after your customer is there, you have a lot of products, and then this customer loyalty plays a major role. If I trust you as a brand, I would come back again and again to you, to shop from you. And it is very important to maintain that kind of relationship. These are the several ways that we have mentioned here, some of the ways brands try to lure them and try to keep engaging them to buy more and more. Should I move to the next slide? So we see this customer loyalty, but one more biggest challenge for any of the brand becomes this cart abandonment. And this is one of the very major challenges. Why? Because it depends on a lot of parameters. It is because one point is there, you have a lot of options. Customer go to multiple sites, they go to the multiple marketplaces, they see the products, they add on to their cart, and then they compare where there is the pricing, they compare the pricing where they get a cheaper product, where they get more discount, or where they are more comfortable, where they trust the brand more, right? So these are the various parameters which is very important for the brand to consider. Now, site performance also plays a lot of role, big role in this, because if the site fluctuates the performance, you will not be comfortable shopping on that site. It is very important to have a very simple checkout process so that you don't get messed up there. Having a proper clarity in the pricing, a lot of times, some of the brands would maybe show a price, and when you move out of the checkout page, you see some extra pricing added to that. Now that comes as an additional kind of surprise for the customer, and no one would like it. And you are not of the consumer, me or you would like it. So it is very important to keep these things in mind. You have to make your checkout process very simple. It has to be short. You allow your guest user checkout because maybe I don't want to log in, I don't want to register on the site, but I want to buy a product, right? The moment I buy a product, certainly there is more chances of making me loyal, making me more loyal to your brand. So offer them the guest checkout options, give them an easy navigation, which would be simple to move around the site, because there are a lot of products the customer is browsing even before they buy the product. And also it makes a lot of difference on the kind of payment gateways what you are using. If there is a new payment gateway, customers shy to buy the product because you don't get that trust factor. I'll give you a very good example. A couple of years back, I had a startup, I had my own marketplace, and it was a very new and site, and almost I delivered 100 orders in India in initial moments. And during that period, when I saw the checkout, the cart, abandoned cart, I had more than 100 of cart which was built by the users, but they never purchased. What I used to do was I used to call them and I used to talk to them like, you have added the product onto the cart, but you are not buying it. And the straightforward response what I used to get was, because my brand was new, right? Though I had the CC Avenue payment gateway, which had a very very strong KYC mechanism. So there was no way I could escape out if somebody makes a complaint against me. But yes, consumer has that concern in their mind. I used to call my customers, and I have seen that success in 3 to 4 calls, they used to make a purchase. I was able to convert that cart to a sales. Now, that is a very important thing. You've got to connect with those customers and understand why they are abandoning. And this gives you a very good feedback from the users, not just by their experience on the site, but also the trust factor that comes in. So you have to be always talking to your customers. Whenever you see any cart that is abandoned, talk to them, see what their problem is, and then improvise in that area, right? So this is also one of the very important aspects of the key challenges that any of the retailer would face. Okay. Go to the next slide. Now this is a pretty interesting part. A lot of retailers, they don't actually take care, they don't actually anticipate a lot of things that they might kind of face, the challenges. What happens is, for an e-commerce ecosystem, when you look at it, there are quite a lot of things that goes into to make a sale from the site. You have your platform, you have a marketing department who does the campaigns, who brings in the traffic onto the site. You have the order management team, who manages the orders. You have the delivery team who does the dispatch of the products. Then you have a technology team who is managing your platforms. There is a social media team who does those campaigns, right? So it is very important for any retailer, to stay connected with all of these departments so that they could plan out the things properly and it is communicated to them. So everybody is well prepared, right? For example, in this case, if you look at the e-commerce, since we are a technology company, we support our customers on their platforms, their applications. And we always suggest our customers to ensure that they talk to us whenever they are planning huge campaigns, right? Now, before the holiday season, it is very, very important because you are trying to get more traffic onto the site, right? The moment you talk about more traffic onto your site, your application and infrastructure has to be ready with that. It has to be ready to ensure that you are able to manage that load, right? Talking to the e-commerce provider, like we can help them with additional support, maybe in terms of the IT operation support, or there could be a proper escalation mechanism that is in place. There is a proper plan, like we are aware, what are the targets they are doing, what are the kind of traffic they are expecting, right? So these are the things you should be openly communicating much in advance before even you start the campaign. Now, this is very critical, and a lot of retailers ignore this point, the communication, because they are too busy, like they want to just focus on that, on the campaigns. They go, and there are multiple teams involved. It's not just one team, right? Here, I would like to ask Mandar. Mandar manages a lot of our customers, and he is responsible and he engages with them on a regular basis, Mandar. So I am
Yeah.
sure you must be facing, these kind of things. And what are the? Is there any use case you would like to share, or any of the things from your side, and how do you manage that? And if you could highlight something from your experience, Mandar, for
Yeah,
our
yeah,
audience.
sure. So there are many cases, during holidays, definitely for all customers, there are multiple campaigns going on, discounts going on, right? So we have to make sure that system is survive in that situation, right? So let's say many cases are there, but let's talk about one use case, real use case in from our client. Yeah. So that is from APAC region, from fashion and apparel industry, right? So they have, every year they have a sale period like between September to December. Yeah. So the sale is like on ninth month, on ninth day. So that means in September on ninth, then on October on 10th, in November on 11th, and in December on 12th. So that is how the sale is going on for that customer. Yep. So, and its sale is not only for online. Okay. So this sale is applicable for offline customers, marketplace. So that's a huge customers there. Yep. So the problems basically when they have this program or they have these discounts and these things going on. So we can't imagine like more than 10 times, means let's say if thousands of views are there, right? So that will become like in lakhs of views. Yeah, because of the sales going on. Yeah. So it's like 10 times, 20 times more than the normal days, right? Then maybe multiple transactions are happening, right? So many customers are there, that the DB deadlocks had should be happen, right? Then because of the concurrent users. So what means of concurrent user? That means that thousands of users are trying to purchase at a time, right? At a single second, or maybe at a single minute, or at a single hour. Yep. So in that case, we have to be sure that the system will survive, right? To mitigate all these situations or to mitigate these kind of risks, so we have to make sure that yes, the servers that we have, that is nothing but an infra point of view, infrastructure point of view, those has to be in a upscale, or let's say the auto scaling is there in the AWS if we go with, or the Azure if we go with, right? So that we don't have to worry that if the traffic goes, if the load is up, then the instances are automatically those are getting over there. So we don't have to worry about the infra part, but then same thing we have to do it with the database as well, because the many deadlocks or many connections are opening in that situation or in that period, right? So that is the upscale. We have to upscale the database. We have to also make it auto scale. So the database and the infra has to be on the auto scaling part, right? And then the other things are like similar to, let's say, if the campaign is starting at 12 a.m. Yeah, from the APAC region, or maybe let's say from Indonesia or whoever, right? So from that region, if it is started at 12, then that means the products which are, let's say for now, some of the products are at let's say $100 for, let's say, yeah, and then at 12 a.m. 20 or 40% discount is there. So this has to be automatically happen. So for that, we have to make sure that okay, we have to automate the reindexing part so that the prices are getting changed properly, and then manual intervention is not required. Yeah. So definitely these all things has to be tested in the pre-production environment, and then we can have this in the live environment, right? And in case of many things are there, like in the from the infra we can manage, then from the indexing we can manage, but still the manual intervention or manual support is required, so we can stand by our support team so that they can help us out, right? So that is how we can mitigate such kind of risk, such kind of situation in case of traffic during the holidays, or let's say the most of the the orders and the load on the server is happening. So that is how it is, Sarvesh.
Yeah. interesting, Mandar. And as you said, like it's not just the holiday season, but these are like specific days, especially where you have
Yeah,
to be more vigilant, right?
correct.
And we as a technology partner, once we are aware, we would be, ensuring that we take care of the things that is needed at that point of time, as you said, right? So it is very, very important for any of the
Yeah,
retailers to stay connected, keep talking, whenever there is such extra demand you are expecting on the side, right? Uh,
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks for that, Mandar. Yeah, so these are like some of the challenges that we are talking about today. Anushka, I can move to the next slide. Uh, yes, having said that, these are some of the key challenges that we speak, but there are quite a lot of more things that have to be considered. Considering the time limit, we will not be able to talk about everything. But yes, it is challenges. There are quite a lot of challenges, and it has to be addressed. Along with the challenges, there are some of the mistakes that a brand should avoid, right? Because the sales season, there are a lot of opportunities. It comes with a lot of opportunities. You get an option to attract new customers because customers would like to, browse through, explore new avenues of shopping, right? You have to retain them as well, because the expectation, the demand would be certainly higher, right? And you have to be primarily staying vigilant of all these common pitfalls, or maybe you could say these are the things, there are certain things which you should avoid doing along with the key challenges that you face in order to drive higher performance onto the site, and in order to benefit from the promotions that you are making. So it is very important to be staying vigilant and trying to avoid certain things, right? And these are basic things, which is, but doesn't come in the mind of a retailer a lot of time. Like everybody does the promotion, but you have to be ensure that the promotion is happening at the right time, and it is not just before the season, but you got to do it even before, much before, in order to, lure the customers, in order to, brands, they release teasers, right? They promote, maybe there is even 1 month in advance that there is this period approaching. That increases the curiosity of the users, right, of the consumers, and the more and more they hit on the customer's mind, it retains there in your mind, and when you go for shopping, you actually explore that particular platform. Along with the campaigns, whenever we do the campaigns, it is very important to track those campaigns in the real time. A lot of brands do not emphasize on how to track them, because it is like from every campaign, like what are the things which is working for you, what are the things which is not working for a brand, which is the campaign which is performing more, which is the campaign which is driving more traffic onto your site. What are the medium, like it may be a social media, like it could be maybe a SMS campaign, it could be an email campaign, or you use the telecom, for promotions. So you have to be very vigilant on these campaigns, how it is progressing, and what is the impact it is making. And even before you do the campaigns, it is important for you to forecast your sales, because that helps you in planning. Having a proper forecast, certainly there are a lot of things that goes into it. Making a forecast is very, very tricky, and it is also very like kind of important for you to hold that kind of inventory with you, because depending on the forecast, you would be expecting some product which would sell more. Accordingly, you keep those products. You upload those catalogs onto the time on the web store, right? You have to understand the marketplace policies. You cannot ignore that, because if you are working with the marketplaces, they have certain policies. So you have to be up to date with that, so you don't miss out on any of the orders. So quite a lot of things which appears as a challenge, but certain things which you should avoid, some of the mistakes. So we have tried to cover up some of them here, like which is very critical for any of the retailers to boost their sales. Like for example, the last point is about the express shipping here, the point number 8. Now express are not offering this free shipment or the express shipment. consumer might switch to some other maybe the brand. Why? Because we as a consumer, we look the shipment cost as an additional burden for us. So we always feel that if we get something for free shipment, we get lured to it. So these are some of the basic things that should be kept in mind, in order to avoid what is good for the site for any of the retailers. Anushka, you can go to the next slide. We will just cover it up quickly, due to the restriction. So the consumers that we should keep in mind, and these consumer concerns are not just individual by within the consumers, or there is also a lot of dependency on the market situation, right? Because consumer anyways are evolving, right? Both our behavior is changing. There is more shift towards the digital mode. They try to shop from the convenience of their home. Loyalty also is something which is very difficult to manage for a consumer, because they switch brands, they have got a lot of options, right? And the dependency on the mobile devices is rising, right? Along with that, if you look at the current market situation, there is a lot of inflation. There are economic concerns, there are supply chain issues, which is arising because of the war like situation. There is a recession which is happening in the US. You look at the market today. So there is always, these kind of things which puts extra pressure on the retailer, because you've got to find out new ways how you can lure your customers. And these are something which is very important, to be considered, like throughout. It is not just the holiday season, but as well, like what are the key consumer trends? What are their expectations? Marketing, when you do a marketing, what are the kind of promotions which is working well, to which the consumer is responding? If the consumer, you get more response on the campaign, you would like to adopt to that particular mechanism or the campaigns more and more. Inflation certainly adds on to that burden. Due to inflation, the war situation, there is challenges faced by all the retailers in the supply chain, that it impacts the inventories, it impacts in managing your inventories, right? Customer retention strategy you should have in place, how to retain the customers so that you don't lose out any of the customers, because building a customer is a very, very tough task. It's never easy. So what are the tech advancements? What are the role of AI? How artificial intelligence, you can see, we are all here sitting majorly, I think, would be the technical guys. How the artificial intelligence is shaping up the industry, how people are also reacting to it, how people are adapting to it, and how it helps the retailer to build that intelligence out of the behavior of the consumer on your site, even from the day one when they engage, when they land onto your site, until they make a purchase, and even after purchase, how they are responding to you. So there are quite a lot of data points that as a brand you could collect, you could analyze and understand the user behavior more. What are their concerns? Why they are shopping more? Why they are shopping less? So these are the things that you have to tackle as a retailer or as a brand. And especially during the holiday season, when you are expecting more sales, you are expecting more traffic, and this is the period when you expect a lot of business for your site or retail. We'll go to the next slide. We will cover up some of the insights that actually Adobe has conducted a research, like they do this kind of insights, they do this kind of analytics considering the US region, and this survey was conducted in the month of September among 1,000 US consumers. So we will just go through some of the insights quickly from the Adobe. So if we highlight, the key points, the key highlights, if I do a summarization of the key highlights during the holiday season, the growth for the online retail is a little slow, compared to previous to 2020. The growth is a little slow, especially when we are moving out of the pandemic and the current inflation, as the situation of the economic situation. There is an inflation, there is a recession. So online discounts are only expected to be very strong this time, this year. And we are talking specifically about November and December period of 2022. The major categories where you would see a lot of discount being electronics, sporting goods, toys, appliances. These are some of the segments where you could expect a lot of discounts. And the contribution of the sales, when we talk about the Cyber Week, that is the major critical period when in US you can expect the higher amount of sales. This is going to be significant, but very small compared to the previous years. Though the sales would be there, but compared to the previous year, it is certainly going to be low. Apparel spends, though, that is going to be down because customers might be preferring to go to the physical store. Nowadays, there is a trend of BNPL. We will see in the further slides as well, buy now, pay later financing mechanism, which is actually in rise, and people are adopting it a lot in order to, if there is a higher cost, so that they could pay it at a later moment, not immediately. So if you look at the holiday season growth, yeah, year to year, we have some data here. Approximately, if you look at 8%, there is the retail year-on-year growth. Growth started, if you look at the early months of 2022, the growth started very well, but due to the rising prices of the gas, food, and travel prices have increased, and economic situations, there has been a little slowdown in the sales in this year 2022 when we talk about promotion discounts. That is certainly there. I mean, that is the very basic thing that any of the brand uses to promote their product. So it's a very price sensitive market. If you look at the grocery prices, they're up by more than 14%, which is increasing. Freight prices are increasing year on year. Interest rate also increasing. If you look at that interest rate, which is impacting the sale of any of the customers. So these types of dynamics have constrained the consumer spending budgets entirely during the holiday season when compared to the previous years, before the pandemic. We hope that the situation is only going to improve now. We have seen the worst part in the last 2 years, and also we are going through a very turmoil situation, like where there is a war, and it's very unpredictable times. So yes, due to which there is a little slowdown in the sales when you look at from the early months of the 2022 and in this holiday season. We'll go to the next slide, Anushka. Yet, even though there is a slowdown this year during the holiday season, we can, as per Adobe Analytics, they are expecting our sales of 209 billion this year, considering the US market, right? And this is despite all this inflation and all these situations that we are talking. If you look at the graph, see during the holiday season, if you look at the graph, year on year, the sales during this Cyber Week, this is actually very less when you compare to the previous years. So last year, there was 8.6%, which was during the season, what the sales happened compared to the whole of the year. This year, we see only 0.5% that we are expecting. Yet, it is going to drive a revenue of overall 209 billion USD this year when you compare to the US market. So these are some of the trends that we can expect in this holiday season. In the next November and December is also the major holiday season that's there. Go to the next slide. So if you break down the Cyber Week roughly, if all of the major days of shopping, which is the Thanksgiving, Black Friday, or the Cyber Monday, we see that Thanksgiving, there is actually a reduction. There is reduction of sales on the Thanksgiving day. So maybe the traffic might be low. I mean, as a brand could use this as a reference, because the Adobe has done this analytics. They have a lot of parameters that they consider. So this could help as a reference for the retailers, right? Which is the day they could expect. I mean, Cyber Monday, at least it is going to be better than last year, where they are anticipating a 5% increment. on the sales. Black Friday is also pretty low. It is almost 1%, the increment that they are looking at on that day. But overall, the Cyber Week, the sales would be little better. Okay, you can call it. But compared to previous years, it is very low. If you look at the graph here, this is very low. But yes, we expect that it is going to increase in the further years. And this year, we are also facing a lot of war situation, economic slowdown, recession, those things are coming up. That's impacting this sales during the holiday season as well. We go to the next slide. We will see some more statistics quickly, considering the lack of time. So if you look at some of the categories, just to highlight where you can expect higher sales would be the electronics, which is roughly sitting at $49.8 billion and roughly 2.9% year-on-year growth you can expect here. Apparel would be little lower than that, but at a negative growth. If you look at the apparel from the year-on-year sales, the expectation is lowered by 6.7% this year. Increased in-store shopping for apparel would be higher. It would contribute more. And grocery, if you look at it is at a 10.5% year-on-year growth. So these are some of the sectors which we can look at the kind of expectation or anticipated volume of sales that you can expect during for these sectors: electronics, apparel, groceries, all these. So this is some of the data points relevant to that. Can move. Other important thing is the BNPL, because BNPL, we see there is a lot of growth that is going to be there in the coming years. It is expected almost, if you look at the larger figures for the BNPL, it is expected to grow by more than 50% compounded rate, at a compounded rate of 50%. BNPL revenue share has grown by 5% compared to the same period in 21, if you look at the last year. So BNPL is saying this is a buy now, pay later. So generally you can buy for the product, but you pay it later. This is a kind of financing option that banks offer. There are a lot of microfinance companies which are getting into BNPL payment options. So here there is an increment, and the key reasons why you could look at it is, a lot of times customers do not have the immediate money, but you want to buy something, but you are willing to pay it later. This is a kind of loan that you get. So you buy the product now, but pay it later. Or maybe a very high ticket size items where the product value is very high. You cannot pay it instantly, but yes, you would like a little more time to pay for it. So BNPL is something which is going to see a large increment in not only this year, but next year, coming years, BNPL is going to actually be kind of only increasing the market share of BNPL payment options. So these are some of the analytics which we have from Adobe. Can go to the next slide. I think we are done for today. Yes. Pretty much on time, but yes, we would like to take some questions. Anushka, if there is any questions from the audience, we don't have a lot of time, but yes, we can take whatever possible.
Sure. So thank you so much, Sarvesh. I could see that you had a lot of other insights to share, but due to the time shortage, you weren't able to do so. But thank you so much for whatever you and Mandar have shared with us today. I'm really sure that a lot of what you told us, it has been something in the back of our mind, and we've kind of had a superficial understanding of it. But now, since with what you've just explained to us, I'm very sure that we are kind of aware of the trends that will shape this year's holiday season and the upcoming retail year as well. So thank you so much for joining us today, and we are open for questions and answers now. If anyone has any questions, please feel free to ping them via the chat section or the Q&A section. And till the time we're getting some questions from our audiences, I had a few questions that I wanted to ask. One of them being that we've seen that, as you said, Sarvesh, that there has been, we've just moved further and moved beyond the pandemic, and the pandemic had a really negative impact in the entire retail, online and offline market. So we, of course, have a lot of inventories that are sitting idle, eating dust in our warehouses. So with the situation of bloated inventories already in picture, and with the consumers expecting new products and new things, new items as per the trends in the market, what do you think is the best advice you would like to give to retailers to handle this bloated inventory situation, and to make sure that their inventories for the upcoming sales season are up to mark and up to pitch for their consumers?
Yes, I think bloated inventories, certainly there is always a challenge, because as a brand, you would like to ensure that your inventory is optimum. It shouldn't be very high, it shouldn't be very low. A lot of times, when you have extra inventories, right? A lot of extra inventories, and you're not able to consume it. It is very important how you utilize that, because it kills your shelf space, right? It kills your real estate. That cost increases over a time. And it depends on what are these inventories, like which category are they? Are they perishable, non-perishable? Because if this is a perishable kind of a product, you cannot afford to keep it, because it anyways is going to get over. So, and in non-perishable, still you have a little shelf life. You can retain it for some time. So it is always good, to ensure that you try to drive it through the sales. You try to offer more kind of a discount over it. What you can do is maybe bundle it along with some other products, right? You can give it as a kind of gift with other purchases. If somebody is making a purchase, you could give away this as a gift with the similar kind of categories. You can collaborate with some other third businesses where you could start selling it to them. Maybe if somebody is not having that particular inventory and they have that demand, you could actually go out to them, collaborate with them, and try to shell off this inventory through them. So bloated inventory, certainly, inventory is something it is only good to have as long as you are able to get over it within the right time. Even less, even the more, it doesn't work for any of the businesses. Mandar, would you like to add your point here?
Yeah, you have already covered those bloated inventories and all, right? But definitely history knows that if that inventory grows more than the sales, then that is not good for everyone, right? So yeah, so most of the things, we have to make sure that what is we are expecting, and based on that only retailer, if they can plan accordingly, that will help us out to avoid such situation, right? Or else they have to think of to, let's say, the sale, they have to bring the discount to the customers from 50% and so on, or that's how it is. Or maybe they can also sell their inventory to the other businesses, other partners, so that will be helpful. But in the end, that is a loss for them, right? So maybe they can get the production cost, they can get it, but not as a profit, definitely.
And sometimes they get rid of it even on loss, if it is for a very long time. So that is never a good thing for any of the business. Hence, it is very important to plan it out, in advance.
Yes, that's what. Yep.
So just a last question for you guys. We have a question from Vishal, who's asking that as per Adobe Analytics, what do you think are the most browsed offers by customers during holiday season? Like, is it coupon based? Is it BOGO offers? Any special price or discounts? So do we have a report on that, or do we have your insights on that?
So see, one insight pretty interesting. There is one thing called as coupons, but BNPL is something that we see is coming out as a very big, kind of option for the consumers. Voucher-based discounts, that is always there, and it is. We don't have a proper report for that, but we can certainly find out some of the statistics for that if there is available, right? But as we see that category-wise, we know, like, how do you offer the discounts? Like the category where you see more sales happening, probably the discount would be lower, right? The categories which they want to get rid of where there is no sale happening or where you have an excess of inventory. Those are the categories where you can look at, the discounts would be higher, right? Yeah, so this is something that we can consider, considering the kind of segment they are operating in, right?
Right. So yes, I believe that answers Vishal's question. And thank you so much, Sarvesh, for joining us with the session and for enlightening all of us on whatever your experience has taught you till now. And it's always said that learnings are best when you either learn from your own experience or you take inspiration from someone else's experience. And all our participants has had a deep insight and a deep cover into your and Mandar's experience. Mandar unfortunately had to leave the session right now. And yeah, any more questions coming along the way? I believe they're not. So thank you so much, Sarvesh, for your time. Thank you to Mandar as well. And thank you everyone for joining us in this session. And I'm going to see you in the next one. And thank you. Bye-bye. Have a good day.
Thanks a lot, Anushka. Thank you, everyone, for being here
Bye.
with us. Thank you.